Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Marvel Snap video. You're gonna have to forgive the sleepy eyes. I was in bed, ready to go to sleep, and then with the daily refresh, we got a featured location already. I thought it was gonna be tomorrow, but we got a really cool featured location in Hell's Kitchen. So Hell's Kitchen, draw a 1-cost card from your deck. So thinking about this, that's okay, but how can I really get much upside from it? Well, there was a clip from a video that we released a week or two ago, and I'm actually going to cut to it real quickly if I can find it. If you could guarantee that Deadpool was in your starting hand or your starting 2 or even 3 turns, I think you could get quite a bit of upside out of him. So basically what I asked for in that video, towards the end of it, saying that if there was a way we could guarantee that we had Deadpool in our hand, then this would feel amazing. We got our wish. So with Hell's Kitchen, we're going to be able to guarantee, at least while it's featured, that Deadpool pulls out of our deck. So if you want to run a movement style deck and you have Human Torch is going to be much more consistent. You're going to be able to escalate it and snowball it so much faster than you would have otherwise. We did build a deck list around Deadpool, and of course, since the last time we built a Deadpool deck, we have added Venom to our deck list, so we have another initiator. So we went ahead and took out the cards like Angel, and we added in one of our new cards in Beast. And so I'm going to really quickly run through the entire deck list, but it is a fairly standard Deadpool deck, except for a few tech slots. So the first one being Deadpool. Whenever this is destroyed, return it to your hand with double the power. So the earlier that you can start destroying this card, the faster you can start snowballing him. And so if you can do it early enough, you can get him to 20, 40, 80 power. And then you have a couple of ways to cheat out even more power than that on the last turn. And so then we have Nova as a way to slightly buff Deadpool, but if you're able to buff him by 1 on his first destruction, you're essentially getting a free destroy from 1 to 2, and so then he automatically turns into 4 instead of to 2 and then 4 to 8. You can do math. Then we have Bucky Barnes, so a very standard destruction type card. When this is destroyed, we will leave a Winter Soldier in its place. So this is perfect for how many destruction engines we have and just the overall goal of this deck list. And then we have Beast. So Beast is a card that it took me forever to pull. Unless you're Sulky Hulky, then you pull it as your first pull 3 card. But Beast has a lot of cool utility. So in this deck list, he's going to be able to pull Deadpool back into our hand. He's going to be able to pull Killmonger, Carnage back into our hand, so that we have additional destruction engines, and after that point, Deadpool becomes free for the rest of the game. And then we have Carnage, a very standard destruction engine. We have Venom. So Venom is going to be pretty cool in that whenever he destroys one of your late game Deadpools, he's going to absorb that power. And then of course you're going to be able to redrop that power in Deadpool later, but you can get a pretty large Venom here. So Venom acts as a 3rd or even 4th way to get a lot of power and push a lot of power onto the board. We have Killmonger as another destruction engine. Killmonger specifically targets all 1-cost cards, and so namely our Deadpool and our Nova. We have Hulkbuster. So Hulkbuster is a good card to merge with Deadpool. If you can merge this on maybe his first destruction, his second destruction, you can start snowballing him much quicker than you would have been able to otherwise. We have Sabretooth. So when this is destroyed, return it to your hand. It costs 0. So this is going to be good for our Venom, good for redirecting power onto the board and counting as a destruction card to discount our death. We have Deathlock as our last destruction engine. He's just a fairly standard, a decent power level if he can get the upside of destroying a card as well that you want destroyed, then even better. We have one of our late game powered pushes in Taskmaster. Taskmaster is going to set this card's power equal to the power of the last card you played. So on turn 6, you can drop Deadpool alongside Taskmaster to drop 80 power, 160 power, both of which I have seen recently. Just a massive amount of power that you can throw onto the board pretty consistently. And then the last card slot we have is Death. So with a destruction style deck, we are wanting to destroy as many cards as possible. We're wanting to destroy Deadpool over and over again. And so each time we do, Death is going to be reduced in cost. A lot of times we can get her down to 5, maybe even less. That way we can drop our Deadpool and death on the last turn if we haven't drawn into Taskmaster. But that is the general rundown of the deck list. We are going to go ahead and jump into a few games. This deck list and this location really does have me excited. I think it's going to be Deadpool's time to shine for the next 2 days. So go ahead and jump on it. Get as much Deadpool out of your system. Get as much Human Torch out of your system as you possibly can. But we are going to go ahead and jump into a few games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so first up we have Segajin, and we have Deadpool, we have Hulkbuster, both in our starting hands, which is phenomenal. We are going to go ahead and drop him into the far right lane, because even if that does turn into like a Space Throne, we have Killmonger to pull him back into our hand. It's not ideal, but it would work. So we're going to go ahead and end the turn. But before we get too far into this deck list, I did want to say thank you guys for all of the support on the last video. We actually had a different video planned for today, but this last minute location release, I saw it and I knew that I had to run a deck list. This is going to feel like Deadpool's time to shine, and I'm very confident that he is going to be exceedingly good in this deck list. So thank you guys for the support on the last video. That video has done phenomenally so far. Thank you for all of the engagement. Thank you for just viewing it, enjoying it, and then coming back time after time for additional content. And so we are going to drop our Bucky Barnes and then our Carnage, which is going to do the first destruction of our Deadpool. He's going to become a 10 power Deadpool. We do have our Killmonger to trigger an additional time. We have Death, which it looks like they're running a Death Wave style deck. So we do need to keep that in mind as we get towards the last turn. And so here our Deadpool is free because of Elysium. Do we go ahead and drop our Death this turn? Do we wait to see what they drop? I think we wait. I think what we're going to do is we're going to drop Deadpool. Actually, let's not put Sabretooth there because we have 2 cards in Strange Academy and they could get sent over that way. So we're going to do our Sabretooth, we're going to do our Deadpool, and then actually we will go ahead and do our Killmonger over there because it will kill the Ninja. And so that's going to make our Deadpool 20 power. He's going to start getting so huge. If we can get one more destruction on him in this next turn, phenomenal. But speaking of the support and supporting the channel, supporting me, and then we get Taskmaster, just beautiful. So I anticipate that they drop Wave here. But speaking of supporting the channel, we do have 2 new members that joined the YouTube membership of my channel today, and those being Daddy Gaming Nightly and Phenomen. And both of you guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel, supporting me. Daddy Gaming Nightly, we actually had a video set up to launch before this one. You might accidentally get shouted out twice. But thank you guys so very, very much for supporting me, supporting the channel, and just continually enjoying the content. Oof, that was rough. So they did a leader which copied our Deadpool and our Taskmaster. Oof, so rough. I was anticipating the wave, like one of these, but it just didn't work well. And then Venom comes in a bit too late. So maybe we do Venom here, which will absorb all of this power, because we're not going to be able to replay next turn. Maybe if they do an Odin, they'll accidentally copy our Venom. I guess that wouldn't be an issue, would it? We're just going to lock it in. I think they have a Death here. I wasn't anticipating the leader, but thank you guys so much for supporting me, supporting the channel. As a channel member, you get access to some cool perks like some cool emojis. At a certain tier level, you get early access to my videos. So I'm guessing maybe they thought we were going to play a card here, and so then if they did Odin to re-trigger leader, they'd lose some downside in Elysium. But they did an Odin and a Squirrel Girl, and it just didn't copy enough. Thankfully, their Taskmaster didn't copy Deadpool. It copied Deathlock, it looks like. But as a channel member, you do get access to all of those cool perks, and you get my gratitude. So thank you guys so much. So not a bad first game. Not great. Not ideal, but still not bad. We are going to go ahead and jump into another. All right, so next up we have Paper. In our starting hand, we do not have Deadpool. We're just going to have to rely on Hell's Kitchen to pop up here. No, that is not Hell's Kitchen. We do discard our Sabretooth, and so he does not come back into our hand, unfortunately. We're going to go ahead and drop our Bucky Barnes into this far left lane, because this is a prime target to get destroyed with like a Deathlock. And then we're going to hope that this third location, we haven't seen Hell's Kitchen yet. It's funny, sometimes there's a featured location and we see it every single game. And then sometimes we don't see it at all. And so it's really hard to get a read on that featured location. And so we are going to go ahead and just use our Deathlock here to destroy Shadowland. That's going to give us a Winter Soldier. They plop into a Lockjaw, or they play into a Lockjaw. I guess plop is a weird way to describe that play. I don't know, guys. I don't know what more we can do. So we can do something kind of cheeky, like we can do a Nova. We can do our Hulkbuster, which will merge into Monster. And then I think Taskmaster will actually copy Nova instead of Hulkbuster. Because once Hulkbuster's gone, it doesn't count as us playing a monster. So I don't like that as much, actually. We are going to go with it anyways. We're going to hold out on our Killmonger because it is going to be able to swing us Shadowland. So what we're hoping is that they invest a few more resources, and then we can swing it and turn it with the Sunspot. And so Sunspot getting hit there is pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. We get Wave. So we're each only going to be able to drop one card next turn. That's not what we wanted, but it's okay. So we're going to be able to hit the monster here. That'll allow us to do a 14 power Taskmaster on turn 6, which maybe we don't even end up dropping our Taskmaster. It depends on what they play here. If we go with the Taskmaster play or if we go with the Killmonger play. This is definitely not great, not ideal, but we are trying to make do with what we have. So they do use another wave by dropping Odin, and that is going to get shifted into their deck. Maybe they can get a lower power card. Good. And so then it hits quite a few of their good targets here. So now we get our Deadpool. We can only drop one card. They can only drop one card. We're winning pretty heavily here. We're winning loosely here. I think what we do is we drop into Sokovia. Unless they can impact more than one lane, then swinging Sokovia is going to be enough for us to win. All right, so they do drop a card. The question now is, does it push power out? It doesn't, so it's just Giganto. They swing Shadowland, but we swing Sokovia. We were ahead by 1 in Monster Island, so not an ideal game. Maybe we'll see Hell's Kitchen before this video is over. Maybe we won't need to. All right, so next up we have Bork, and we still haven't seen Hell's Kitchen. So we played a couple games before starting our recording, and then of course this is game 3 now, because surprisingly, we are 2-0 so far. But a cool, I guess, tech or trick with Nidavellir is that when Venom eats the cards, he will retain their +5 power. So him and Taskmaster are going to be huge this game. We're going to be able to get a giant Venom, and then hopefully have a Taskmaster to copy that Venom's power, just to do some absolutely insane things. And so they do a Bucky Barnes. They're running a destruction deck as well, which works well for us in giving us a discounted death. Ooh, and then we get our Taskmaster. Just beautiful. We are going to go ahead and Hulkbuster the Deadpool. That way when we kill it next turn, it will pop back into our hand as a 10 power Deadpool. So a good way to kind of start snowballing and start that play off right. Okay, and so they drop a Deathlock, which does turn their Bucky Barnes into Winter Soldier. But that's okay. That's fairly standard. We can now, I think we do our Killmonger. I think next turn we do Deadpool plus Carnage here to kill him, pop him back into our hand. That'll be on turn 5. On turn 6 we would be able to, I don't know that I like that as much. Maybe next turn we do Deadpool and Venom in this lane, which isn't great, but I mean, maybe that's what we go with. And so we do have a 5 power Deadpool. Why is it 5 power? He didn't double. Why didn't he get the duplication? That's so strange. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and do our Nova, our Deadpool, and then our Venom. And so that should get a lot of upside from Nidavellir here, as long as it still retains that +5 bonus. If not, then we may be in trouble, and it may have impacted our Deadpool play as well. And so we will see. Oh, I don't like you. I don't like you, Bork. So they locked down Savage Land with Professor X, so we're not going to be able to take that location. So if this does not turn into a 20 power Deadpool this turn, I think. Okay, so it turned into a 22 power. So it said 5, but it was actually 10. So strange. And so we can do What is this card? That is the brightest Colossus I have ever seen in my entire life. They go first. Do we do like an all-out play here? Do we do a Carnage and then Sabretooth, Deadpool, Death? Do we think they can beat 38 power in Nidavellir this turn? So they have 5 cards. They could potentially do it. Getting +5 power each time they drop a card is huge. But so is 38 power. Unless they have a Shang-Chi, I think this is our play. It's not not conventional by any means. It'd be more power to drop a Taskmaster. But with Mojo World and having this one locked down where we can't play cards there, I think this is what we need to try. So they drop 2 cards here. We of course drop 4. So no matter what the power level is, we do come up over them by 100, and then we do have the incredibly big Nidavellir as well. So we win by about 170 between our 2 lanes, and so overall, very, very satisfying. Not a straightforward win. Definitely not Deadpool's best match, but not bad either. 22 power. That's nothing to sniff at, especially for being a 1-cost card. And then we were able to sneak out 4 cards on the 6th turn to swing and win Mojo World in our favor. Absolutely insane. And still no Hell's Kitchen, but we're 3-0. All right, so next up we have Q. The first location being Savage Land. We'll be able to destroy that with a Carnage. Hell's Kitchen is one that we have not seen very often again. There are always those few that you just don't see very much. Sometimes a featured location you'll see all the time, and sometimes you won't see it at all. So Venom is actually pretty nuts here. Venom is going to eat and absorb this lane, but when he comes back and he copies into your hand, he retains the buffs that he gained. So we're going to be able to do a Venom. This first one won't be great because it's just going to be killing Bucky Barnes. And then we do get Hell's Kitchen here. I'm sorry I ever talked awful about you, but we can do a Sabretooth. Or do we want to go ahead and start doing our Venom? We can do a Sabretooth. Once Sabretooth gets destroyed, he will end up being free. And then we can copy him as well as the Venom on that following turn. I think that's what we go with here. And so they use Forge, they use Multiple Man, they have an Iron Fist now, so they have a copy of that. Kind of scary. So maybe we do Nova and then a Venom. That is going to buff up our Venom. We're of course going to get those back into our hand. And so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I wanted to make sure we had enough room to pull back into the Venom once it copies, because it's going to be a pretty high power Venom. And then Sabretooth should be a free card when it bounces back into our hand. And so then if we want to, we can drop Sabretooth, the free Sabretooth, as well as the Venom into this lane to get the additional upside as well. And so now we have the Winter Soldier, we have Venom who is absorbing all of this power, we have the free Sabretooth. We didn't leave enough space to copy the Venom back into our hand, unfortunately. We did poor math. We could, yes, technically do a Beast to pull him back in and then re-drop him, but that would waste an entire turn. That would put us into turn 6. We wouldn't be able to have a chance to get a lot of upside out of it. So what we're going to do is we are going to Carnage this lane, get a Winter Soldier, a buffed up Sabretooth. We're going to be able to drop a 3-cost Death on this following turn, as well as having a free Sabretooth, as well as a 3-cost Sabretooth. So we can drop a decent amount of power going into this last turn. And so Sabretooth is going to come back into our hand. They do have Human Torch here, but he is in the far left lane already, so he's not going to have a lot of room to jump around. Even if they do a Heimdall here and they shift these cards over, I don't know that that's necessarily enough. And so I think we do our free Sabretooth here, we do Death here, and then we do a Sabretooth into the cloning vats. That pushes a little power here just in case they don't do a Heimdall shift. If they do a Heimdall shift and they drop it here, Multiple Man of course comes back. Death is going to make sure that we keep our upside here. And so this looks like a Heimdall play. So Heimdall shifting them over to the left. And so we're going to go ahead and give them the good old thumbs up. That should, as long as our calculations did not get messed up again, like it did with counting our cards, we should win. And so we do capture the left and the far right lane. We actually push into the cloning vats. Just so unfortunate. We could have got a huge Venom and had a massive upside from it, but we were able to pull it out anyways. So we are going to take that win. That breaks our loss streak. We lost 2 in a row. That kind of snaps us out of that funk, and then we're going to go ahead and jump into another one and hope that it goes well. All right, so next up we have the lucky coin. We do have Deadpool in our starting hand. I'm going to go ahead and drop him, so if we do draw into Beast here, we'd be able to pull Deadpool back into our hand on turn 2. He'd be free from that point on, and so we'd be able to drop him as needed. So we don't draw into Beast. Next turn, our ideal play is a Hulkbuster here. And so as long as they don't armor this lane, which it looks like they're going for a destruction style deck as well, and so I think we're okay. We do get the Hulkbuster. We're going to be able to either do Killmonger or Deathlock, either one on next turn. Oh, and so they do a Daredevil. Strange. Are they going to destroy their Daredevil after turn 5? So strange. Okay, and so Los Diablos base does ruin this location, so we are going to be able to drop some cards there. Otherwise, we were going to have to rely on like a Taskmaster or a Death. But now we do have the upside, and we have the ability to drop cards there. So I think we are just going to go ahead with the Deathlock here, which is going to pull our Deadpool back into our hand. He's going to be 10 power. Next turn, we're going to be able to drop both Deadpool and Killmonger. That is going to duplicate him again. He's going to end up being 20 power. And then we're going to see just how far we can take him. Hopefully he ends up getting pretty large. So what is Colossus? Why is Colossus so shiny? Such a shining card. Okay, so they snap. Why did they snap? Is it because they think they're going to sneak away a lane with a Professor X? And if it is this one, yes, they can sneak that one away. I'm not sure why they snapped necessarily, but I think we keep going with the destruction. I think we just keep playing according to plan. We do have our Taskmaster. We do have Venom. So as long as they don't have an armor, which they're going to use, then we should be able to destroy these cards. I am a little bit afraid of an armor in this scenario, but we are just going to go ahead and stack them together. I guess we could have put our Killmonger into Los Diablos base to split the power, and then if they had a Professor X, we'd at least be able to match that power level. That was probably the better play. And so they do a Hobgoblin here, which isn't, I guess, terrible. We do have plenty of destruction tools, so we have a Carnage somewhere in our deck that we could use. And so actually next turn is turn 6, isn't it? So I think we just go with so this turns out to be a 12 power play. That ends up being a 12 power play. It's not as good as 20 power, but where do we drop power? I think we're going to do our Deadpool into the Ruins, and then I think we're going to do our Taskmaster into the Gia. I don't think they're going to anticipate us competing for the Gia here. I don't feel just overly confident in this play line. It is 40 power that we're pushing out. I'm just kind of worried about a Shang-Chi. They do a Warp Path into Los Diablos base. So strange. I'm really curious to see that deck list, because I'm imagining that they didn't have an optimal draw. But I'd be really curious what the optimal draw looks like, because the Bucky Barnes and the Nova is throwing me off quite a bit. But we did win. We are going to jump into another game, and then hopefully we get Hell's Kitchen, at least for one of the featured games in this series. So next up we have Wannabe Beetle. Our starting hand, we have our Nova. I don't know that we want to drop it. We'll go ahead and drop it. We'll drop it into the far right lane. If we draw into Deadpool next turn, great. Maybe this is Hell's Kitchen. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we know that we already have Nova. Deadpool is the only trigger we could potentially get there. So we're going to end up dropping our Bucky Barnes. We will then drop next turn. We'll do a Deadpool and a Carnage. It will start as a 2-power Deadpool. Not huge, but we all got to have our start somewhere. And we're not going to draw into a card because of their Black Widow. Very, very unfortunate. Oof. And we're not able to play cards in this lane and after turn 4. So luckily we do have a decent amount of cards there already. But still, I would like to have a little bit more of a cushion. So we're going to go ahead and drop our Carnage. That is going to destroy this lane. We're going to end up having 11 to 13 power. And then we will have a 4-power Deadpool in our hand to then try to redestroy. Maybe we'll be able to destroy our Sabretooth as well. So they send us a Viper. So they're running a kind of disruption or a junk style deck. So hopefully, I don't know. I kind of want to destroy our Deadpool this turn, but I also kind of want to wait for them to drop their demon. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our Deadpool in Hell's Kitchen. We're going to then follow it up with Killmonger. We have initiative, so we're going to turn first. We're going to destroy the Hood and Deadpool here to get rid of some of that downside. And so being turn 4, maybe they drop debris into one of these 2 lanes. And so they do, but it only pushes power here. So they did drop Demon this turn. I kind of wish we would have waited just 1 turn before dropping our Deadpool. So we don't have a way to destroy Deadpool here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to drop Death this turn. Next turn, we're going to go ahead and snap. We're going to drop Death this turn. Next turn, we will be able to drop both Taskmaster first, which would copy our Death's strength, and put 12 power here. We could then, depending on what they drop here, we could then play our Deadpool here or here, to give us that additional power push. The thing that the debris style deck struggles with is power output. If your opponent can be able to get some power out on the board before you clog them up completely, it's really hard to come up over and win, especially with a destruction style deck that can destroy some of the rocks. It can destroy the Hood and some of those other cloggy style cards. With that is actually game 6. So we did 1 extra game today. We are going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Overall, we didn't get a whole lot of use out of Hell's Kitchen, but the theory is there. It does help with that consistency in making sure you have Deadpool so you can start snowballing him earlier. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.